every single section has an activity for you and your partner to do. Because if we can do something with the information, we activate the information. Information is not transformation until you activate it. So I can know how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but until I actually make it, it's not a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And so I am super passionate about the activation of the information because that's where the transformation happens.
Hey everyone, this is Beth, and this is your Enneagram Coach, the podcast, where it's our mission to help you to understand yourselves with astonishing clarity so that you can break free from self-condemnation, fear, and shame by knowing and experiencing the unconditional love, forgiveness, and freedom in Christ. Now remember, you can watch us in this podcast on our YouTube channel, which is at Your Enneagram Coach. And make sure that when you head over there, that not only do you watch our podcast, but all the other amazing Enneagram content that we have for you. And we would love for you to like the podcast video, but also to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss anything that is being released. Well, I'm excited to have one of our very own certified Enneagram coaches, Jackie Brewster. Jackie is a professional author and speaker and certified Enneagram coach who specializes in helping individuals, couples, and teams conquer feelings of being overwhelmed. She achieves this by utilizing a combination of the teachings of the Enneagram with biblical principles. Her Instagram page is at Enneagram with JB, and it is growing fast. She shares some amazing Enneagram content that is very practical. So you got to head over there and like her page so that you can follow all the resources and content that she provides. Now, Jackie says that she identifies as a type 7 and is an experiential specialist, which I absolutely love that phrase, an experiential specialist, because in her free time, she loves to cook, work out, and spend time with her friends. Her husband and her, Stephen, they have 4 amazing kids, and they actually live kind of just down the road, so to speak, in Franklin, Tennessee. Well, let me welcome Jackie. Hey, Jackie, it's so good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be with you.
Yeah, this is going to be so fun. I know we've hung out several times, and we were just talking about we've got to get some coffee again. We haven't seen each other for a while. But I love, just seeing you again and hearing how you're doing. We talked a little bit before we got on here, and that's just really exciting to hear what's going on for you. Now, I'd first love to hear, and I'm sure everyone else that's listening always wants to know, how did you discover the Enneagram, your type, and then how has utilizing the Enneagram helped you personally?
Well, I discovered the Enneagram over 12 years ago. And every year I have to add another year to it, I think. It could be longer than that. I don't even know. Yeah, I was taking a walk with my girlfriend. And, she is this very cute little girl that sits in her seat and she reads her book and eats her snack. And I have twins, I still have them. But at the time they were just like 2 years old, and they were little tiny babies that they could get out of their seats, and it was chaotic. I looked like a walking circus. And so we're taking a walk, and the twins figure out how to get out of their straps, and so then they slide out of their stroller and take off running down the we're in a park, so at least it wasn't a street, you guys, but it was chaotic. And so after that that day, my girlfriend, she called me and said, "Hey, I just want you to know I ordered you a book, and it's gonna arrive in the next couple of days." So I'm thinking, oh, I love a good book. I can't wait to get lost in some other person's reality that's not my own. And lo and behold, a couple of days later, I get this book, and it's The Wisdom of the Enneagram by Don Rizzo and Wes Hudson. And I, first of all, look at that, and I was like, what is this? That symbol is weird. I know. I'm like, I don't know about this, but my girlfriend's a really strong Christian, so I thought, okay, I trust her. Started reading started reading the book, took the test. I actually tested as an 8 at first. And I was like, okay, I can totally see that. I am strong, determined, and all those things. But in that season of my life, I had 4 kids. My husband's in ministry. He travels all the time. And a lot of it was just survival. So as I continued to read through that book and started to look at the wings, the numbers to the left and to the right of your number, I started to read the 7. And I really resonated with the heart longing of the 7. the unconscious messaging of a 7. And then all of that just started to make sense.
Yeah.
There was one line that said, the frantic escapism of a 7, like they just want to get out of whatever situation it was in. I'm like, that is how I feel all the time. And I thought there was something wrong with me. And reading those words, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm not broken. Like,
Right.
there's nothing wrong with me. I just feel stuck, trapped. I feel like I don't have the support I need. And so as I began to dig into the Enneagram, it started to give me language to how I felt, or some
Yeah.
experiences that I had gone through. It started to give me a better understanding of the why to my behavior patterns. And so I studied it and studied it and studied it and learned more about myself. And then eventually took the course and started this journey of being a coach. But
Yeah.
it
Wow.
was
And I think that's
powerful.
what most people are surprised that, wait, I'm not broken? Like,
Mhm.
I mean, we are, right? I mean,
Right.
like sin and the fall are here. But at the same time, God created us in such a way to view and react to the world in healthy ways that would glorify Him. And then, of course, the fall came. And so, in some sense, we're broken, but not in the actual way He designed us, and that we get to be a part of the body of Christ, right?
Right.
We're not the whole body, we
Mhm.
are a part.
Right.
And that part has wonderful attributes and perspectives that benefit the whole body when we use it in a healthy way. And so I think
Mhm.
most people do come to the Enneagram, and hopefully from a gospel-centered perspective, like, wait a second, God created me with these views and tendencies and abilities. I just need to become more like Him and utilize them in such a way that glorifies Him. And
Right.
so I love that you said that, because I think that's where most people come when experiencing the Enneagram. Plus,
Mhm.
of course, then we look at the Enneagram, our Enneagram type, and we see the liabilities and places of struggle, and we're like,
Right.
oh no, we have this gut punch, right? Like this shame
Right.
gut punch.
Yeah.
But that's where we have to keep pushing the gospel forward, because He has forgiven us and He has put His righteousness on us. Therefore, when God sees us, He sees His Son and His Son's righteousness on us, which gives us all the freedom and the ability to move forward in a new and a fresh way.
Mhm.
So, okay, I went on a little tangent there, but it was good because it's
Mhm.
the gospel.
Mhm. It was good.
Okay, so that's really fun, and hearing kind of like just how you got into it, and I would just love like maybe just a quick little glimpse, because there's a lot of parents out there, maybe even parents of twins, who
Mhm.
are feeling like they're drowning or they're stuck. How did the Enneagram practically help you, especially in
Yes.
that season?
I could talk for days about
I'm
this,
sure.
really, honestly. I have 4 children, ages 21, and then the twins are 14, so there's a 19-year-old in the middle of that. And so as I began to understand myself, I understood my reactions. So I really study patterns of behavior, why we do what we do. I really get into that part of the Enneagram to really start to make sense of it. And so, because I want it to be practical, I want to be able to do something with this. So I began to really understand my own triggers, where I was going in my wounding, how and who and when that happened, and what could I do about that? Because it's not a sticky note. The Enneagram is not a sticky note that we just stick on ourselves and we start to act out these behaviors or use it as an excuse for the behaviors. It really is a beautiful tool of, uncovering and discovering the parts of ourselves. So as a parent, I began to see parts of my own childhood story and how they were affecting, in a positive or negative way, my parenting. Then I also could see my husband in a different way and hold space for him to parent the way he was going to parent, also understand his story and his heart longing and those unconscious messagings that take such root in us and really do affect the way that we engage with each other in our lives and with our children. Um, my kids are all old enough, so I do have a pretty good idea of their Enneagram numbers at this point, or where they lean. And so that helps me understand the push and pull in relationship. Um, One of my favorite parts of the Enneagram is the stance work. So the
Mhm.
assertive stance, the withdrawn stance, and the compliance stance. understanding how that plays out in parenting. Because I'm gonna stand independently or push against even to get my way as a parent. And so
and Stephen's also in the same stance, right?
He is.
Yeah.
He is. So the dance that we do in parenting, and then I've got a child in all stances. So assertive, compliant, and withdrawn, to withdrawn. And so just knowing that, I think, has given us such a different perspective in parenting. It definitely helps me slow down. It definitely helps me have empathy and compassion for my kids, as well as my own self in the midst of some of the hard conversations.
Which is so important in parenting
tension.
Or just pretty much any relationship, right? To have understanding compassion for ourselves. That's key.
Yeah. So I think it's a huge, huge resource, like beneficial resource.
Yeah.
Is you understand yourself better, then you can engage with others in a different way. Otherwise, we take so much offense, like we do. Like when we don't know where things are coming from, we oftentimes stand in such a defensive mode, or posture.
Yeah.
I think about the Enneagram, even the defense mechanisms. And I always say, like, they're not boxing gloves. It's a shield of protection.
Right.
And so I know I'm going all over the place with it, but that's how deep it is.
Yeah.
And I think that understanding the different elements of the Enneagram as a tool to help you learn more about yourself, I think it's beautiful.
Well, and in my presentations, one of the slides I have is a family of parents and 2 kids, and they're all wearing glasses. And the first image you see is them wearing just normal glasses, that are clear. But what I let people know is that there are 9 valid perspectives in seeing, interpreting, and reacting to the world. We think others are seeing it the way we're seeing it, and they should react and do it the way we would. And when they don't, we get really frustrated, like you're saying, and either frustrated, hurt, you name it. But then the next slide that pops up is the same picture, but each of their lenses is a different color. And that just goes, it just helps people to visualize that we see the world, interpret it, and react to it differently. And to give that pause that when when someone does something that lands on you in a wrong way, don't assume incorrectly that it's for negative or bad reasons. Ask curious questions. By asking curious questions, we can better understand, have empathy and compassion, love, mercy, forgiveness. Like there's just so much we can do when we have greater clarity. And that's what the Enneagram offers us. And I love that we can, as coaches, help others to understand, experience, and then utilize that in their relationships, just like you have done with your own kids. And that's so powerful because, like you said, you could be too aggressive in pushing your way as a parent. I, on the other hand, am in the withdrawn stance and I want to hightail it out of here. But I have to lean in on my aid a lot as a parent and say, no, I need to plow a path for my kids. I need to do it from an empathetic, compassionate, and kind place, like the 9. But I also need to protect them from themselves and the world and help them forge a path that's, different, that is God honoring. And so I love how, you bring that to the forefront right now and just recognizing how important the Enneagram is and how much it gives us that clarity. That's so helpful. Well, okay. So so here you are, you're on this journey, you're a parent of toddlers, you're stuck, you utilize the Enneagram, you're learning, you're growing, it's giving you great insights. When was it that you first recognized that you would like to pass it on? Like you would like to take it to the next level and become a certified Enneagram coach? And I know that you took our course, Become an Enneagram Coach. And before you respond, I love to also hear, as you describe that journey of getting to the course, did you experience your own self-doubt? Because if, like everyone out there that is maybe interested in becoming a coach, they want to pass it on, what they've learned, but now they've got these some limiting beliefs, the self-doubt that creeps up. I know I have it all the time, daily. People are like, no, you don't. You're an Enneagram coach. I'm like, yes, I do. Trust me. So what was it like experiencing, and what were your limiting beliefs? And what helped you to get over those limiting beliefs to then take the course and to pursue the certification that you have now?
I think the beginning of this, it was over 5 years ago now, I guess. And my husband and I were going to launch into the world, leave positions in ministry and go do our own thing in coaching. And my husband, he just affirmed me in this season. He just said, like, I can see you're passionate about this. I think that you are worth the investment, because that would be one of the things that I struggled with. All of my life was feeling like it's okay for me to invest in myself in a financial way. Like, I know I'm a 7 and gluttony is our sin, but it's still, when it comes to personal development or anything like this, a lot of the times I looked to other people to make sure they were okay before I would look to myself to make sure I had what I needed. And so understanding this part of myself, he really saw something in me and was like, this is your sweet spot. I think you should do this. So that was the beginning of the journey. I think he pushed me and just said, I believe in you. He celebrated what he saw in me. I think that's a huge part of it. I think for a lot of years, I felt tolerated in ministry positions. I hope I can say that. I was, in ministry as a pastor's wife in ministry, and I didn't quite ever fit. You guys, like, I'm from Massachusetts. We live in the South. There's already that. Then I'm into the assertive stance. So then there's that. And so I think I just couldn't quite find my place. And I'm a truth teller, and I like authenticity, and I want people to be healthy and free. And it's hard for me to sit back and watch things happen. So I just, I think he saw a boldness in me, and he helped me walk into this. He really, really did. And at that same time, I was in like deep counseling, my own therapy, did some really, really deep healing work in my own life. I think that was probably something that unlocked the willingness that I had to be able to step into something that I was not sure that I would be great at. I thought, man, I really want to hold space for people. I want people to find freedom, but the business side, I don't know I don't know how to get this thing off the ground. But I feel like all of the steps in that sees all of my life, I can see how the Lord orders the step. And so I just stepped through the next step, and I just, the door opened and I walked through it, and the next door opened and I walked through it. And so I think that there was definitely limiting beliefs. There still are, like, I do have a thriving coaching business. My third book comes out in a couple of months. There's all these great things happening, but there's still that little bit of like, do you really know what you're talking about? What are you doing? You know? And so I hope I'm answering your question
Yeah.
in the way that you wanted it.
No,
I
yeah.
think,
I think it's helpful for people to realize that we're all in that space, that we all have limiting messages, head trash. There's lots of ways you can say it. We have false messages or soundtracks, as John Acuff puts it, that try to sabotage us from moving in the direction that God is calling us to. And so it's really helpful to know, one, our Enneagram type and why and how could it be sabotaging us through false messages. But then what's the direction of growth? For me, as a type 9, I just want to go along to get along. I don't want to make anything too hard for people. So getting out there and being an Enneagram coach was scary because you've got to assert yourself. You have to develop yourself. Well, if I'm spending all this time developing myself, then what about everyone else, right? But just like you, I had my family, my kids were in high school, and them and Jeff just really wanted me to go for it. And that was a big, big help because before then they didn't know what my desire was. And so I just kept it quiet like a 9 would. And then I stayed stuck there. And so having people in our lives that cheer us on, I think is so important, but we can't negate the fact that we too have to be our own coaches, our own mentors. And it's not so much like, hey, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and go. It's no, what is God calling me to do? And if he is calling me to this, then I'm going to trust and walk in that path, knowing that the Holy Spirit is going to embolden me with strength and passion and tenacity and resilience to get that done. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. There's definitely lots of challenges
Yes,
along the way, but it's worth it,
it
especially
is.
watching. I'm sure I'd love to hear, and we'll probably get into this, but watching our clients transform right before our eyes. I mean, it's like the best experience ever. It's like the best job ever. I always tell people, like, guys, this literally is the best job ever.
It
Why are you
is.
over there? You should be over here doing this.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like that sometimes? Like you got to just tell everyone?
Gosh. It is. Yeah. I think I feel honored. Like it makes me tear up when I think about it, that God would trust me to hold
Mm,
space for people
yeah.
in all their different seasons and different situations. And I'm not
Hmm.
there to judge anybody. I'm there to hold
Right.
space and help people find paths to freedom. And
Yeah.
a lot of that is, I believe it's awareness, acknowledgement, and the pivot towards growth. And that's just the way
Mm,
that I teach the Enneagram. And I think that there is beauty in that. And so I'm on a journey with my people. That's what I say.
yeah.
Like, I'm on a journey with you. I have the book. I know where to go, but I'm going to let you take me on the journey, and you can guide the steps
Yeah.
to us getting where you want to go. So the first question oftentimes is, where would you like to go?
Yeah.
With the client, like, what
And
is
then,
the
and then you
goal
get in
here?
front of a nine and we're like,
Yeah.
I don't know. What
Yeah.
path do you want me to be on? And
Yeah.
then we have to do
I'm
all the
okay.
work.
Well, and it's okay. Even with that, and with the nines, I'm like, okay, let's just go. Let's go. Let's start on this journey.
Yeah.
We're going to start somewhere, but we're going to end up in a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Um, I love what I get to see. I love seeing people free from patterns that they never thought that they would get free from, just
Yeah.
by being able to acknowledge what's going on and maybe where they come from, or how they've held them captive for so long.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy that part of it. On the experiential side of what I do, so I'm trained as an experiential specialist, and that piece right there, I help people get into their stories through different
Mhm.
modalities. And so that is helpful. So I feel like it's like a holistic approach to this whole thing. And,
Yeah.
but oh my gosh, seeing people find hope in their story, find restoration in their relationships.
Yeah.
Um, I've got one client that I've been working with for a long time, and watching him learn to like him
Mm.
is pretty
Mhm.
amazing.
Yeah.
Like, watching him uncover parts of himself that he buried because he
Mhm.
felt ashamed of has
Wow. That
been
is powerful.
it is just beautiful. I feel
Wow.
very honored that God let me do it.
Well, I know there's a lot of people listening who they've, learned the Enneagram, they've utilized the Enneagram, they've experienced their own personal growth, whether personally, relationally, maybe professionally,
Mhm.
ministry. Some are even therapists, and they've utilized it
Mhm.
there. So we have people that listen, from all different spectrums. And some of them are like, gosh, this has helped me so much. I want to pay it forward, but I
Right.
don't know what to do next.
Yeah.
And this week we open our registration for Become an Enneagram Coach Course. And so there's people out there that are thinking or ready to go, like they're ready to jump all in. Can you just explain what it was like for you to go through our Become an Enneagram Coach
Mhm.
course and what that process was like, the knowledge and the insights that you gained that actually set you up to be the professional Enneagram coach you are today?
It was great. It's there's written content and video, and so and I am old school, so I printed everything out because I want to have
Yeah.
everything in my hand. And I still have it today. I still use all of the tools that we have. So I think that the process, it was easy, and in the way that accessible.
Mm.
Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
it's accessible. There's a lot of content to learn.
Mm.
So take your time. That's what I want to tell anybody that wants to do this, right?
Right.
It's like, hey, this is not fastest way from point A to point B.
Yeah.
This is holding space for people. And we have to learn to do that by learning about people. And so go slow, reread, re-listen, um, you know, keep everything right at hand, if that makes sense. All the
Yeah.
all the tools that you guys provide, I just would use it and look back and listen. And I just needed to learn more, study this, or you gave great resources even as far as other books to look into. And I've got a whole library of books. Like I
Yeah.
I'm a, I am constantly reading and learning and growing.
Yeah.
And that's what I would say to be a really great coach. It's the continual education. So it is everything that you step into here, and then utilizing all the resources that you guys offer, leaning into it and listening and growing, and holding space for yourself.
It's not just about the Enneagram, though. Obviously, we're going to teach you everything there, and then how to coach and present with the Enneagram. But we also do a whole section on business building. Was that helpful to you? Because I know earlier you said, I didn't know the first thing, we're pastors, wife and husband, and we were just going to leap out there. So was that section really helpful for you as you decided what kind of business path you wanted to go on?
Yes, it was helpful. I'm trying to think back. It was a long time ago.
So I'm like trying to think back.
Yes, it was helpful. Yeah, there was a lot of, I'm literally trying to think back right now, like the paperwork and things like that was there, resources. It was all helpful. My husband is a marketing guy, so he helps a lot with that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So yes, everything in your program is very helpful as far as how everything to learn, and then the next steps to actually make this thing happen. Your husband said something to, let me say this, you can totally cut this if you want to. Okay. But your husband said something to me and my husband at dinner a couple years ago. And he said, what's the difference? What do you think the difference of making it is? And I was like, I don't know. And he said, it's like the wolf or the poodle.
Yeah.
Like the wolf the poodle waits to be fed. And I have thought about that and used that so much, even thinking through like coaching, you're going to have to do the work. So they give you all the resources. It is right there at your fingertips. You've got to execute the resources.
Right.
And I think that is what you guys offer, is all the information to execute and make this thing happen.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you brought that up because you're right. And we use that all the time too. And it's actually the Wolverine and the poodle. And our coach, Perry Marshall, was the one that told us that. But that was so helpful because, poodles wait to be fed. And then Wolverines will, stake out what they need and go get it. And it's important because even though we will struggle from here until we're in heaven with self-doubt and limiting beliefs and head trash, it doesn't need to keep us from moving forward into the calling that we have. And so if God has called us to be a coach, whether that's a side hustle, part-time job, full-time career, or just using it right where you're at in your own business or practice, if it's a tool that you want to use from a gospel-centered perspective, then it's not so much that we want to be spoon-fed. It's like, hey guys, here's all the resources, here's all the help that not only you'll get in the course, but ongoing with our Facebook groups and different network communities that we have going on. You will be helped, but at the end of the day, you have to go out there and do the work. And that's what I'm so thankful and proud to see coaches like you who are in our group that are doing that. Like, you're not just waiting for your Enneagram coach to do all the work. Well, because we're not. We'll give you the resources and the help and the education. But I'm so proud of what you've done and what you've accomplished. And so with that, I would love to dive into what is on the horizon for you, which is the new book that's being released March. It's March 23rd. Is that right?
March 21st.
21st. Okay.
Yeah.
So March 21st, your new book, The Enneagram and Your Marriage. It's a couples workbook for growing and understanding empathy and love. Now, what I love about this is that it is a 7-week workbook that guides couples through the process of building a stronger marriage for themselves. So with that just little bit of information, I would love for you to just tell us more about what couples can experience when reading this book and how you've laid it out to be very interactive.
I am so excited about this project. So this is one of those things that I felt, I did feel God drop it in my spirit, and I just kind of wrestled with it. And then I wasn't sure it was going to get picked up or not. And then it did. And so seeing it come to fruition, I am like, oh my goodness, I cannot wait. I use it all the time. And what I do right now with couples. And so actually getting it in the hands of other people. this book, it is 7 weeks. It has two different parts of the Enneagram per week for you and your partner to go through. And it talks about, from the basics of like an outline of your Enneagram type, then it goes into subtypes, and every single section has an activity for you and your partner to do. Because if we can do something with the information, we activate the information. And information is not transformation until you activate it. So I can know how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but until I actually make it, it's not a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And so I am super passionate about the activation of the information, because that's where the transformation happens. And, I believe transformation happens with the help of the Holy Spirit. And so as you learn about each other and all the different parts of you and your partner, you're learning it side by side. We are human beings created for connection. And so this book offers an insight into each one of you. It offers a pause in your relationship every week to go through and talk about some things that maybe you wouldn't normally talk about. Steve and I just celebrated 24 years of marriage. And I'll tell you what, 24 years ago, we had no idea what we were doing. Even 15 years ago, I don't think we knew what we were doing. So we have, personally used all the information in this book, and then I use it with other people. But it just goes through all the different things, like how does your ring show up? What do defense mechanisms look like? And what does it look like in real time? Like, what does it mean? And how are those patterns of behavior helping and hurting you in your relationship? Are you getting what you want in your relationship? And if not, how can you talk to your spouse? How can you guys have open lines of communication to be able to talk through things and talk about the heart longing, talk about those messagings that you heard early on that keep getting triggered in the relationship. So it's chock full of all kinds of good Enneagram information and activities to help you really work through and build a solid foundation, whether you've been married for a month or 24 years or more.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
Yeah. So with that, I love one that it's interactive. That's so crucial in all that we do. But secondly, can you give us one or two examples of couples that you've worked with that you've kind of tell us like where they were stuck, their types, where they were stuck, and then what information kind of helped them to get unstuck and to really grow and blossom in their relationship?
I have a couple combo that is a 1 and a 9. And so they were stuck. He came to me first and, just, I want to figure this out. And the 1 is the male and the 9 is the female. And so he, as a 1, came to me just feeling like I feel like I'm stuck in my life. And I'm, so we talked about some work things, and then we brought his wife into it because I really felt like this is a combination here. Let's bring her into the situation. So I've had them for a long time. And working through it with them, communication was tricky. And so, sometimes the Enneagram 1 can feel like maybe like a parent in the way that they communicate.
Yeah.
And so like, this is how it should be done. And if she had a different thought.
I'll just say from a 9, you haven't even said anything yet, but as a 9, my whole inside is churning. I'm like, oh, that would be so hard as a 9.
Right.
But anyway, tell us what the 9's reaction was.
Right. She was lost. She was stuck. And so I know that the way that they missed the mark, the 9 is off. And we actually, a lot of my clients that are 9s, we like the word stuck better in some ways. Yeah. They just feel stuck. And so she really felt stuck, and she had attributed it to some trauma that had happened earlier to her in her life. And as we unpacked the story, we realized that she felt tolerated in the relationship.
Wow.
And he felt like he had to parent, and neither one were necessarily celebrating each other because they didn't know how to do that based off of what each other's heart longing was. How do I celebrate them? Will they actually accept it? And, I teach a lot around like, you are both individuals. And so you have an individual responsibility to learn how to fill yourself up with the word, with what fills your cup. The other person's job is not to fill your cup. You figure out how to fill your cup. And then in the marriage, I do circles. So in the marriage circle, up in the marriage circle, this is where you guys are going to agree upon how you're going to communicate together. What do you guys want? Big picture. Where do you want to go? What does life look like in a healthy rhythm? And so we really work through a lot of those things. And so today, they're such a beautiful couple. Today, I watch them celebrate each other. I watch them have hard conversations. And even in the hard conversations, they hold space for each other. They don't talk over each other or shut down. Every now and then, you might get, a little bit of a reaction. Somebody might shut down or something like this, but they'll come back into the conversation in a beautiful way. And so I think, that's just one example of two different personality types, recognizing like we are not going to see through the same lens. And guess what? I don't want you to see through my lens because I married you to be you.
Yeah.
And so watching them learn how to celebrate each other has been beautiful.
Wow.
And then I work with another couple that's an Enneagram 3 and an Enneagram 8. And so those are assertive stance.
Yeah, there you go. 2 assertive stances again.
Yeah, 2 assertive stances. They want to go after what they want to go after. One wants autonomy, one wants connection, but doesn't necessarily know how to do that in a great way. So even watching them come to the table, usually around communication, like, I don't feel like this is working very well. I love this person, but we are not seeing eye to eye, or I don't understand them. And so unpacking, the heart-longing messages, I think, are just crucial to relationships, but also the subtypes. And, what subtype are they in? So that was huge. When somebody is a sexual subtype and somebody is a self-preservation subtype, the focus of attention is quite different. And so understanding that they have a better perspective of what's happening in the situation. Like, you want to throw caution to the wind, and I want to make sure we're safe. Like, this feels like you don't see me or understand me. And I'm like, no, this is what's happening. Let's bring it back to center. And so really working through those different elements with my clients has helped them find ways to communicate with each other, hold space for each other, lean in and love each other better, resolve conflict much faster.
Yeah.
Conflict is inevitable. We actually want you to have conflict.
Right. Yeah. Like, conflict's not bad. And that's me as a 9 saying that. Conflict isn't bad when it's done well and for the right reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I can't believe it just came out of my mouth, people. You're welcome. I guess I've grown some.
It's so true. But I think that awareness is key. Teaching people about themselves and then giving them space to acknowledge it, because they have to accept it, because you cannot heal what you don't feel. And you can't change what you're unwilling to acknowledge. So allowing space for people to acknowledge parts of themselves, and then asking the question, is this pattern working for you?
Yeah.
And sometimes it is, and we don't want to let go of them. And sometimes it's not. And that's where we pivot towards growth.
So I know we've got lots of people out there that are in relationships, married or not, that are like, wow, this book would be really helpful. So they're going to go out, or they're going to go get the book, whether it's like Barnes and Nobles or whoever, or maybe like Amazon. They're going to go get your book. So they have it in their hands. Tell them how you would love for them to go through it. Like, what encouragements can you give to them right now?
I would love for you, most people listening to this podcast are probably Christians. So, being prayerful going through this, and just praying about Lord Jesus, what would you want to reveal? What would you want us to know about ourselves? And that's how would you want us to hold space for each other? Teach us how to love each other through a different lens. So I'd love it to be prayerful. That would be amazing. And then I think just it's step by step. The book is created for you to do it together. But that doesn't mean you have to sit next to each other and do it together. I want you to come together once you've had some time, because there's certain numbers that you just need to go away, and you need to take space and work through, and work through it. So that's what I would hope, is that you would give each other this space to be able to do the work the way that you individually need to do the work, and that you would come together, set a time once a week to come together to go over what you guys discovered about yourselves and each other, and then do the activities, because the activity helps you retain the information at about 80%. Like, you're more likely. If you just listen, it's about 10%. If you read, it's a little bit, it's more, maybe it's 40%, but if you actually do an activity, we're getting like 80% retention rate.
Wow.
And so I think that there's power in you actually doing the activities together, and just a posture of curiosity. Like, what can I learn about myself and what can I learn about them?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, that's super awesome. So, as we wrap this up, so they have the book, they're going through all that, and they're going to gain a lot of understanding from your book. And let me just tell everyone again, it's called The Enneagram and Your Marriage, a couple's workbook for growing and understanding empathy and love. So they're going to have this book, they're going to read it, and they're going to grow for sure. But they might still either feel stuck or they just need someone to walk them through it. So where can people find you? What are some of the ways that they can contact you, whether it's coaching, free content? Where are you at so people can get a hold of you?
So I have a website called EnneagramWithJB.com. My socials are Enneagram with JB. People call me JB, even though my name's Jackie, but I always think that's so funny.
Yeah.
So Enneagram with JB, if you just type it in, you will find me. You can reach out to me. You can book a session. You can email me. You can talk to me on socials. I am, I try to make myself available on socials. I'm on Instagram. I will talk to you back. On Facebook, I will not. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I can't, but I don't seem to do that.
Just go to Instagram. It's okay.
Yeah. So I want to make sure that if you talk to me there so that I can talk back. But I'm happy to walk with anybody or help clarify anything that might be confusing in the content as you're going through it. I would love to be able to be accessible to you guys as you work through the book.
Well, thank you so much, Jackie, for being here. And thank you, everyone that has joined us to listen today. Share it with your friends. There's so many people that are stuck and they need this information. So please pass it on to them. And for those of you that are interested in taking it further, definitely reach out to Jackie, or, we have incredible certified coaches as well at myenneagramcoach.com. But for those of you that have been listening and you're like, yes, I've been desiring to pass on my Enneagram knowledge and experience with the next person, and you're thinking about becoming an Enneagram coach and taking our course, then now's the perfect time. We're opening our certification course this week. So to join or to listen and to learn more, we have some webinars this week that we'd love for you to show up. We give you lots of great information so you can make the best decision for you in becoming an Enneagram coach. So if you've ever desired to pass along the Enneagram, then now is the time to get your seat at one of our webinars this week. And you can do so by going to EnneagramWebinar.com. Again, that's EnneagramWebinar.com. And what we're hoping is that you will get that specific guidance that you need. Now, if you're like, that was awesome, but I need to talk to someone to get a little bit more guidance, then guess what? We've got team members that would love to set up a 15-minute call with you and to talk you through and discuss all that takes place in our Become an Enneagram Coach course. So you can email us at info@yourenneagramcoach.com, where you can set up those calls with our team, and they would love to lead you along the way. And as always, remember that the Enneagram reveals your need for Jesus, not your need to work harder. It is the gospel that transforms us. Thanks for joining us.